David, if you are up for it, it's time for the industry updates here.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys are still interested, because
We're
partially
always
it's
interested.
same old.
Always.
You know, uh, we look for trend to kind of change, especially if it's a bad trend.
Mhm.
Um, so
Mhm.
I'll give you three metrics that I think are relevant to what we're doing, and one of them, I'll make the first two the bad ones. The number of compromises in businesses of all sizes are still growing year over year. So that has not yet changed, where the defenses in terms of cybersecurity are good enough that the trend is reversing. And so what that means is that cyber criminals continue to find ways to compromise. And it could be a breach of data, it could be ransomware, it could be identity theft, it could be all kinds of things. The second negative trend is that the average ransom continues to go up. For the first time, the average ransom payment, this is now very Canada specific, jumped to over a million. That's actual payment is over $1 million of the average ransom payment. So when you look at those two metrics by themselves, it doesn't look very good for businesses because they have a higher business operational cost. But the good news is for those that actually take a proactive measure, they are participants in the final statistic, which is the good part, which is that we are at the lowest we've been in 10 years in terms of number of percentage of ransoms that are being paid out. So what companies, which isn't altogether good news, but it's at least more good news than the first two metrics. And when you have uh, a downward trend of less than 50% of ransom demands being paid today, what that means is that there isn't less ransoms. So there isn't less breaches. It's just more companies are prepared that if it happens, we're not going to pay the ransom. We're going to find a way to restore data. The downside, though, still is that double extortion and triple extortion is happening. So once your data is out, there's no way of reclaiming it. So companies that have data that does get breached that just don't care and don't pay the ransom, some of them do survive, but there's still always going to be reputational damage. So that's kind of where we're at today. It's just something that we live with, right? Like we live with diseases and then we find a way to slow and eventually eradicate the spread. But that's just part of business. And so those that want to take a proactive measure, they can. The good news is that there are ways of having a predictable cost to preventing breaches of all kinds by just doing all the fundamentals right. And so it's a predictable preventative cost versus the unpredictable, sink the company kind of cost is
Mhm.
basically what a choice boils down to. So that is just becoming, all of that is just becoming more clear month after month.
Demand is growing
Demand is
consistently.
growing. Yeah. In business and homes of all sizes. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. What about on the insurance side, actually? How are things going in the insurance side of the industry in terms of like cybersecurity insurance and the requirements that they're having on their art underwriting side there?
The insurance companies are at the point now where ransomware insurance is becoming less and less common. Pretty much anybody who's had a ransom is immediately disqualified from getting continued insurability, for one thing. And secondly, the requirements are really quite high. So if a company really wants to, oh, and by the way, an adjuster nowadays will do anything possible to look for any possible clause to get out of paying a claim.
Hmm.
So a lot of companies think that they have coverage only to find out that they didn't, and then there ends up being, lawsuit follow up. And so to avoid the whole thing, here's a simple practical approach. Apply for cyber insurance, look for all the requirements, apply them, and then consider whether you want that particular policy. But by applying the requirements to begin with, you're already utilizing all of the elements that an insurance company says these are risks that you need to mitigate in advance in order for us to have your back. Do those things. as a very first step. And if small businesses did that, they could sleep better at night. That peace of mind would just automatically be part of it, even without the insurance. I'm not saying don't buy insurance. I'm saying prevention here is more important, because if you get ransomed, then it's already too late. You can't put the genie back in the bottle, right? Not a good analogy, but anyway, that's where we're at.
We had
Wonderful.
a meeting with our USA team this morning, and the stat that was tabled from one of our leaders down there was he believed it was 2 to 3 months old, but they said that less than 25% of those who are applying for security insurance are being offered it. That's just being offered it. Doesn't
Wow.
mean that they buy it. And there was a lineup of 7 more cybersecurity audits by the partner we have in the 11 state area around Arizona. That partner is still pushing all of the cybersecurity audits up front with their clients and paying us for doing the audits, just to help them, to be frank, not so much qualify for the insurance as to protect themselves. Because without that, the insurance companies aren't interested. They really don't care. It's a real concrete proof that no matter what, we're protected, we're safe, and we've secured everything. Then you'll be offered the insurance, which of course the brokerage, that's what they want. They want to be able to offer that
Yeah.
high premium product.
And we're able to offer everything in terms of the requirements for the ransomware insurance and
Yes.
the cybersecurity insurance. We have it all nailed down, and it meets all the requirements. So there's no way that they'll get denied a claim if they're using everything on our side that they need to be, right?
We can prove their certifiability
Hmm.
on all of those fronts. Yes. Now, whether or not the insurance company offers it, just this morning, one of the team members, she had it, what, 18 months ago, 19 months ago, and when the hurricane came through, part of her roof got ripped off, and she's still sitting there with blue tarp on her roof. And she found out this morning, she got a phone call that the insurance company went bankrupt. They've been for 18 months, as David said, stringing along all of
Mhm.
these players, finding loopholes, finding any escape clause possible. And now she was informed that the state is looking to get certified to take over for the clients that are hung out to dry as a result of this bankruptcy proceeding. So yeah,
Still risk.
it's the biggest,
Yeah.
and insurance companies have always been quiet for good reason. They have a bigger license to print money than central banks. They can use all the premiums to do whatever they choose to. Let's face it, Warren Buffett is a smart man. He got
Yeah.
into it in a big way, and he's used that money better than anybody else, for sure. But this has been the biggest single shakeup in the insurance industry that I don't know if it could ever be replicated. They are, boy, they are pulling in the front line and making certain that they have huge fortress defenses going forward, so they never lose again on a space like cyberspace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Rest in peace, Charlie Munger.
Yes.
Yeah,
God bless. Holy mackerel. What a personality.
that guy did something amazing. Yeah.